Let's talk about love. What is love? It's we love is like one of those things like God. Like it's very hard to define, it's very hard to pinpoint, and everyone has a different definition of it. Some people might say that God and love is the same thing. Some people like to categorize their love. They like to think about there is the way I love my pet is different than the way I love my car. It's different than the way I love my sibling. There's different than the way I love my offspring. That is different than I love my parents, and so on and so forth. And we have this kind of category of love, and so you um, one thing though, I have been very, very blessed and very, very fortunate and very, very privileged to have worked with a lot of people. And every person I've ever worked with, I have not met one person that this has not been the case with. Every single time we go past the noise, every single time we go past the confusion, past the insecurities, past, to categorize it is to go past the noise and the confusion. What is the noise and the confusion? The insecurities, the doubts, the fears, the anger, the resentment, the sadness, the grieving. Like you go past them through either putting them aside or just facing them and going all the way through them. Um, with every single person, I have been the privilege to either witness or facilitate or be close to or see in a movie or witness in a workshop or whatever. And every single time I've done this, every time I have arrived and I have witnessed everyone else arrive in this place of love and oneness. So we can make easily the argument that at the core, at the center, we are all love. We are all one in that place of love. Um, but and so we could say that the purpose of life, the purpose of us going through this shenanigans, living life, getting born, and uh, growing and learning skills to then, like getting old and losing your skills and losing your ability to decrepitating and slowly dying, or, that's how it should be in the perfect world. This whole charade, every step of the way, it is something that is bringing you and pointing you back to come home to yourself, to come back to love. Uh, but it's such a tricky thing because where do we look for love? We always look for love outside of ourselves. We look for our friends to love us. We look for our spouses to love us. We look for our parents to love us. We look for our children to love us. We look for our community to love us. We look for our mentors and teachers to love us. We look for uh, so on and on and on. But what I have found consistently and over again is I will never be able to receive somebody else's love unless I love myself. So, but this very gets also tricky again. So, how do I love myself? First of all, what is myself? You know, there is this not a fascinating question. Who am I? What is I? What is this thing that we call I? A fun exercise I like to think about is if this finger right here, is this finger I? Let's say it's I. But then if we cut it, am I less I than I was when I had the finger? Huh, so maybe this finger is not I. What if I cut this finger? What if we cut the whole arm? Would I be less I than when I had the arm? Or now because I've lost a part of myself, literally like a part of myself. I'm no longer I because the part of me, or like I'm some, uh, the essence of I, did that get diminished anyway? What if we can remove every single thing, my legs, my arms, my ears, my, like everything, to just to keep this as a living organism? Would I be less I? So I don't have, obviously have all my limbs, all my fingers, all my toes. I, when I feel into that, I can still feel that there will still be I. If I lose all my possessions, if I lose all my money, if I'm naked on the street and I have absolutely nothing, would I be less I than if I was the richest man in the world? Would I be more I if I was the richest man in the world? Or would I be more I if I've lost everything? A lot of times people find and come back to themselves when they lose everything. So, what is this I? We identify. So, the only thing you could lose. So that this what comes down as you follow this exercise all the way through, is to find out that I is the eternal I, is the one that never is born and never dies. It's always there. So how can you love that? Which is already love. So do you see where we get stuck? But where we get stuck is in our identity. I identify as this person. I identify by my name. I identify by my sex. I identify the color of my skin. I identify of my financial situation. I identify by what I've achieved in my life and what I haven't achieved in my life. But I'm still always seeking this thing from the outside of myself. Like I'm looking to find this I by going out there, by achieving more, by making more, by having more friends, by having more money, by having more things. And the more I chase that, in a sense, often I start to lose myself. When my wife left the house, it was the most loving thing she could have done for me. Because the very reason I would argue that she left is because I was seeking from her that which I wasn't giving myself. I was looking for her approval, her validation, her love, her acceptance of me, her appreciation of me, her acknowledgement of me, her gratitude of me. Like I was seeking these things from her. And I'm sure if you ask her, she'll probably say that she was giving me those things. She's a beautiful, wonderful human being that I'm sure she'll be humble enough to say that I wasn't always giving that to him, but I love this man. I marry him. Like I was giving him those things, right? Why wasn't I receiving them? Because how could I possibly receive something that I can only give myself? And how do I give that to myself? By giving back to myself. So her leaving was the most devastating experience. One, I don't want to use extreme language, but it was by far one of the most devastating experiences of my life. And I had many devastating experiences of my life. I've lost family members. I've lost friends. I've lost stuff. I've my suffering is no bigger than your suffering. We all suffer. We've all lost things. So you know what it's to lose something. And then I had to make a choice at the moment she left. Do I keep seeking that from outside of myself. I was very determined to not to have to go through this pain ever again. It's like I was like I wanted to seek it in drugs and alcohol. I wanted to seek it with friends and community. I wanted to seek it in pleasures. I wanted to seek it in a TV. I wanted to seek it in porn. I wanted to seek it in sex. I wanted to seek it in food. I wanted to seek it in anything to find that. But some part of me knew that I can never have that outside of myself. So I decided to just sit with that pain. As I said earlier, when you go through the noise and the confusion, you come back to love. So it's like, let me go through the noise and the confusion. The scariest, the hardest thing I had to do, which I'm still very much doing on a daily basis. But when I do that, I come back to myself and I come back to love. And when I come back to love, guess what happens? I love this woman in the ways I could never love her when she was with me. So once I found the love within me, I no longer was seeking anything from her. All I had to give for her is love. Tears of gratitude and love. It's like, oh my God, this is such an amazing, beautiful human being that chose to spend time, share parts of their life with me. And I was so busy running away from myself, making them wrong for not giving me that which they could never give me. So that's the trickiness with love, guys. That's my journey of love. And it's a journey that we have to remember to do and walk every single day. Because I've known this place. I think the reason she fell in love with me in the first place is because when I met her, I was in this place of loving myself. And then I forgot. I was like, oh, here, I found this magical, beautiful love. All consuming. Oh, like, I was in tears for a week when I met her. I was like, fuck. This is what I've been looking for. But then I forgot that the reason I found it is because I found it in myself, and I only saw it in her because I was living that in myself. And it was living manifest in her. So the moment I forgot that it's here and I started like seeking it from there, all of a sudden in my experience she stopped loving me. Why didn't she love me anymore? What happened to this beautiful, wonderful woman that was just like so there for me? Where did she go? And I would tell her many times, like, you're not here. And she would be like, what are you talking about? I'm right here. The problem is I wasn't there. I left this one to go be over there in her business, in her experience, in her. I was living her life. I wasn't living my life because I was over there in her. Hard not to get a little emotional speaking of that, but it's heartbreaking, but it's heartbreaking in a way that my heart's breaking open. And I could be like, I see you, I love you, you're beautiful. And I can only see and know that is because I have to step into that within myself. And again, it's very nuanced on how we get there. and there's many things, but this is, am I taking care of, even though this finger is not me, right? We established that if I cut this finger, I'll still be me. So this finger is not me. So we can say this body is not me. My name, my profession, that none of that it's I. But we can say it's mine, it's my body, because I live in it. Am I loving? We can start with this basic thing. Am I loving this body? Am I caressing it? Am I bathing it? Am I feeding it the things it needs to feel good? There's so much science that when we're in a state of love, this deep science of the genes, the fire that produce um, I'm not very good with the science, as you could tell. See, I'm getting hung up on it, but these genes, the fire certain signals that produce a certain protein that create this life, right? This body is a protein making machine. Without the protein, right, the elasticity of my skin, every muscle, every like memory, like nothing happens without this creating all the proteins. But the proteins gets triggered by the gene, and if I'm not in a state of love, I'm triggering different genes that are producing different protein, that I'm killing this body essentially. I mean, don't get me wrong, the body is going straight to the grave. I'm dying every second, I'm closer to death. So that's happening no matter what. But am I killing the body, or am I loving the body? But the best way to love my body is to love, because everything outside of me here is just a projection of my imagination. Right? And I don't want to get too philosophical with you, but see, if I close my eyes, you're no longer there, nothing's there. Where am I? I open my eyes. I have zero evidence that anything is real outside of my head. I cannot have any evidence that that's the case. But yet it's so persistent, it's there. And if I ask you, do you see me? You say, I see you. But when I close my eyes, you disappear. When I fall asleep, or I'm in a deep dreamless sleep, I don't exist. The world doesn't exist. No one exists. Nothing exists. Then I wake up, open my eyes, and everything rushes back in. So if everything is a projection of me, if I see everything around me as love, that's the mirror. That means I am in love, in the state of love. I'm in love. And everything outside of myself is projecting that love back to me. So that is my little spiel about love. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be more on the subject of love and everything else. Thank you for watching. If you stick around to this point, maybe give it a thumbs up. Okay, till next time.